G'day trendsetters, John with Gravel Cyclist. Behind me, right there, is the Parlee Cycles Chebacco. Now this is a bicycle I was tasked with reviewing some time ago. I've ridden a lot of gravel training miles on the bike and also a lot of gravel race miles on the bike. I've also had the opportunity to ride several wheel sets and several different tyre combinations with the bike. So I'll just go through my experiences with the bicycle and some of the components themselves, and hopefully you'll find this review somewhat useful. Okay, so before I start, I just have to say that the bike behind me has not been cleaned. Gravel bikes, you know, they get dirty, they're meant to be used, and honestly I think that doing reviews with a nice shiny bike is kind of a waste of time. People want to see how it looks after it's been hammered and that sort of thing. The front end of the Parlee Chebacco features several Parlee branded parts, including the handlebar and stem, both of which are manufactured from carbon fibre. But where these handlebars differ from regular oversized bars is their size. They measure 35 millimeters, which is obviously quite a bit bigger than the standard oversized bars at 31.6 millimeters. So we'll have a close look at those right now. So people are probably thinking, why would you want an oversized bar, which is much more oversized than the regular handlebar? I was a little bit skeptical at first myself until I got my hands on these bars. They fit my hand profile perfectly, and I'm one of these guys who likes to ride the tops of the bars on really rough pavement. I find it very relaxing. You can let the bike float and do its own thing. Very comfortable, and because of the carbon fibre construction of the bars, any road bars, or gravel bars, I should say, is negated by the properties of the handlebars. Obviously, factors like tyre pressure and other things are going to come into play there, but they are very comfortable bars. Also, the carbon fibre stem, again, a Parlee item. It's obviously 35 millimeters. This particular one measures 110 millimeters, I should say, and comes fitted with titanium bolts, but as you may notice, they're on the reverse side. So, I mean, maybe it's a styling thing. I never had any problems. The bars never loosened up. It's a great looking stem. It's solid. It was stiff. It never moved. I mean, that's what you can ask for from a stem. So these two components were superb. As you can see from this side view, the Parlee handlebars that come with the Chebacco have a very shallow drop, but it also has quite a lengthy drop section towards the back, which I found is very comfortable for riding, say, long miles on. So, for example, when you've got your hands up here, and after a while, it's like, I could use a position change. It's very nice just to really relax and just get onto the back of the bars here. So that was a nice little bonus touch, which I didn't really expect. Also, beneath this stem is where the Shimano Di2 junction box resides. It's a little bit unsightly on such a nice looking bike, but that's how it is with Shimano, and no reflection by any means on Parlee themselves. In the future, Shimano tell us that they're integrated the control box a little bit differently, and there's other options including installing into the handlebar end plug, so that'll be kind of nice to keep things looking a bit cleaner. The Chebacco has a very unique stem spacer system. At the top you'll have your typical spacers that are like most bicycles, but beneath right here you can see is this stylized spacer. Now this is available in several different heights, and this is the lowest or the most shallow spacer available. It's painted to match the frame, so it looks quite sharp. It's a nice little touch actually. The only negative I've had with the headset on the bike, which admittedly takes a pounding on gravel roads, I did some messy training and a pretty nasty race, the Bootlegger 100, and the headset, when I finished the event, was a little bit sticky, particularly right in the center when the bike was, the stem was in a straight line, I should say. That was pretty easily rectified. I might have had the headset a little bit too tight, but just removed the seals and stuff and inserted some extra grease and it was all good to go. But just worth mentioning. Also, the other thing on top here, the top tube, if you use a top tube bag, for example, for carrying food, etc., your frame will be marked up. So I found this out, obviously, the hard way. So if you do have this bicycle, I recommend you cover this area of the frame with some kind of protection just to keep the paint looking nice. The Parlee all carbon fiber fork is a tapered unit, so it blends in nicely with most modern forks you see nowadays on the market. It also features internal cable routing to keep everything nice and clean. And at the rear of the fork, it's a little bit hard to see here, is a mounting point for a fender. At the bottom of the fork, we've got a Shimano hydraulic brake unit, and it's mated to a 140mm brake rotor. Now those points aside, this fork uses a regular post mount, which some people think, oh my god, what is the point of using such an antiquated device? Well, I'm here to tell you, they still work great, post mounts. They've been working for years. Flat mount might be the latest and greatest, but these are in no way going to stop you from descending safely down your local gravel road. This fork tracks beautifully, and these brakes are superb. I bombed the proverbial crap out of this bike on some pretty tricky conditions. At no time did I have any problems with the bike like getting away from me and just carving through corners. Now the brakes, you think, okay, 140mm rotors are a little bit undersized. I mean, they are, but I was surprised their performance. They never had any brake fade. They were spot on all day. Honestly, if this was my bike, I would probably run 160s front and rear, because a little bit of extra braking material obviously is good for brake dissipation, I should say heat dissipation. But those points aside, excellent setup. And also you can see there's a nice little mounting point here for your fender, and a through axle by DT Swish, and these through axles are superb, no problems at all. The cable routing is internal here, so the hydraulic brake cable enters into the left side of the frame, and the shifting, whether you're using electronic or regular cable, mechanical shifting, enters at this point here. This is like a little port, so it's flexible, and it caters to both mechanical or electronic drivetrains. I have to honestly commend Parlee on the quality of their build. Whoever assembled this bike knows what they're doing. The whole bike was being prepared professionally, and I was extremely impressed with just its presentation, how it arrived to me. I mean, how many bikes do you see arrive in this triangular, massive air caddy box? I pulled the bike out of the box, I had the front wheel on, adjusted the handlebars, and I was ready to ride in about 10 minutes. That's pretty much unheard of. But before I go on too much further, I just wanted to show you the two tyres that I did a lot of riding on this bike. On the right, you have the Penaracer Gravel King in 700C by 35mm, and on the left, its bigger brother, which is the 700C by 40mm Gravel King. This tyre was the one I used, or this pair I used at Dirty Kanza. They clear the fork and frame, no problems at all. But okay, so onto the frame itself. This is a size 54, which is Parlee's medium. I'm about 5'11" tall with a 32-inch inseam. It fits me quite well. I'm using Parlee setback carbon fiber seat post and their 110mm stem, which I mentioned earlier. The frame obviously has a very unique look to it, with the head tube area, which I mentioned before, the spacers, and the top tube has quite a nice slope. People think, okay, why do you want to have a sloping top tube on a bike like this? But sometimes when you're riding through gnarly terrain, you have to bail off the bike quick, and you need some clearance, otherwise you might have some personal groinal area injuries. The frame itself, frame was rock solid. There's a few little paint chips here and there, but what do you expect for riding a gravel bike? In terms of performance, the bottom bracket area is stiff. It has a PF30 bottom brackets. I never had any problems. I never felt like the drivetrain experienced losses or that sort of thing. Just in general, the bike just rode so well and very comfortable. It was not overly stiff or anything like that. It was not a bone-jarring ride. And obviously, factors such as tyre pressure and wheel choice do bear heavily on those things. When I took receipt of the Parlee Chebacco, it came equipped with Shimano's Ultegra crankset and a 50-tooth outer chainring and a 34-tooth inner chainring. Now, if you're riding a lot of road, the 50-tooth chainring will be perfectly fine, but to be honest, I really feel that a 46-tooth chainring is much better if you're going to be riding a lot of dirt and gravel roads. The one thing people forget about is that when you use gravel-specific tyres, they also change the gear ratios because the tyre is so much taller than, say, a stock tyre. Now, unless you're a powerhouse rider, that might be fine for you, but I recommend you think about that option. The most important but neglected areas of the bike, or any bike, is the bottom bracket. And I was concerned the bearings might be toast. I've got, I have to guess, probably about 2,000 miles on this bike so far, and I just recently changed the chain. The chain was completely toast. The bottom bracket is smooth as butter. Very impressed by that. And I'll just pan here a little bit. The bottle cages, again, people don't think about bottle cages until the bottles go flying if you hit a big bump. I have not swapped these bottle cages during the process of the review. They've been on the bike the entire time. They are superb. I never lost a bottle once. They're Parlee branded. They're made of carbon fiber. They look sharp. If you buy this bike, get the bottle cages. The clearance. Tyre clearance is an area that's a bit of a sore subject with me sometimes. I feel a lot of manufacturers could bump up the tyre clearance. 40 millimeters seems to be the standard, and this is the case with the Parlee. I ran at the Dirty Kanza race, Penna Race of Gravel Kings, which measured actually about 43 millimeters on the American Classic Argent disc brake wheels I used at that race. And there was probably about 2 to 3 millimeters each side. So Parlee will tell you that this bike will clear a 40 millimeter tyre with a fender fitted. So that's pretty much spot on. However, if you start packing up mud and such, you're going to experience problems like I had at Dirty Kanza. But that is across the board with every single gravel bike. So I'd love to see a little bit more tyre clearance, to be honest. But that's an issue that every gravel bike manufacturer has to address unless they're building a monster cross bike. Beneath the bottom bracket is where this little cable port is located. So if you just use your finger, you pop it out of place just like that. And if you're running a mechanical or electronic system, in this case it's an electronic gear system, you can see the actual shifting wire right there hidden from view. So your mechanical cables in this case would be routed, and you'd help guide them through during the installation of those cables onto the bike. It just snaps back into place. Very neat. At the rear of the bike is the Shimano Ultegra Di2 rear derailleur, the mid-cage version. And this derailleur will happily shift a 1136, no problems at all. The B-screw might need a little bit of adjustment. On this bike, I've been running 1132 the entire time, and it's been pretty much the perfect all-round gearing. You can also see the derailleur wire exits cleanly out of the rear chainstay, so that's a very nice clean look. And right here you have the rear through axle, the drive side. It measures 142 by 12 millimeters, so it's very rock solid. The Parlee seat post you see here is the company's Sackback model. It measures 31.6 millimeters and also houses inside here the Ultegra Di2 shifting battery. So it keeps everything out of the elements and looking very clean. During the review period, the seat post remained perfectly in adjustment. It never once slipped or dropped or bumped. So I was very happy about that. And that's pretty much what you should expect from a seat post, just bomb-proof performance. And the Parlee branded clamp kept the seat post secure vertically, no slippage. So that's again a nice thing. The Chebacco stood up to every situation and scenario that I put it through. I rode a lot of very questionable roads at times in some pretty nasty weather, and also some fantastic roads in some really nice weather. I even took it on some road group rides when I fitted the bike with 50-tooth chain rings and road tyres, and it performed just like a high-speed road bike, or I should say a high-end road bike. Overall, if you had to pick, just say, one bike to do everything, this is a bike definitely worthy of your consideration. I was just very pleased with this performance in every area, like I said. And it's just a very sharp looking bike. It's a bike also a lot of people don't see too often. And Parlee is typically associated with very expensive bikes. You're looking at the price of, say, $10,000 to $12,000 for an average road bike. However, this bike is not that expensive. It's still pricey, but you get what you pay for, and honestly, I think this bike is a very good value and definitely one you should consider looking at for your next gravel bike. It is honestly the best carbon fiber gravel bike I've ridden to date. That's quite a bold claim to make, but that's how much I've enjoyed riding this bike, and it's a bike I really do not want to return to Parlee Cycles. So I hope this review has been helpful, and enjoy your time on your next road ride or gravel ride or whatever you're doing. Thank you.